Yesterday, everyone was freaking out about the NFL and the announcement that the league decided to make very clear to the rest of the league. Essentially that if a COVID outbreak happens, that there's the potential that games could be forfeit. Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network elaborated on it on television, saying that there's the potential that if there's a COVID outbreak among unvaccinated players, the game would get canceled and both teams maybe wouldn't get paid.
If the game's not played, it's not just the team that caused the outbreak. Both teams would not be paid their paragraph 5 salary, their base salary, that installment for that game. So even if it's the team, I mean, you remember teams were upset last year. Hey, it's their problem, and we're rescheduling this game, and we're moving this game around, and it's inconveniencing us. Yeah, well, on top of that, you're not going to get paid if it's the other team that creates the mess.
So this would be one player potentially hurting two teams based off of this logic. One player who causes an outbreak could result in all sorts of players, 100 plus, not getting paid. More on that in a moment. There's more saber rattling coming from the NFL. Mike Garafolo said that, yeah, you can move games around. You could potentially do what was done last year, have games on Tuesdays, on Wednesdays. They can be moved, but if it's not moved to another game during that week, it's going to be forfeit. Mike Garafolo.
These games could be moved now. That's in the memo as well. Like you could have a Thursday game moved to a Tuesday or whatever. Remember, we had that last year as well, as they tried to keep it within the week that these games were going to be played. But once you get outside of that, the long and short of this is that the NFL in this memo is stating that they are intending to play the entire regular season over 18 weeks. And there will not be a 19th week. So if you get outside of that week, and hey, we couldn't make it work and we couldn't reschedule it, that game is forfeited.
Rattle that saber, NFL. They are essentially, in my opinion, flopping a pool noodle. This is all for show. This is exactly what it was last year. The league canceled 0 games last season during a pre-vaccine pandemic. 0. And they were doing all sorts of tantric stuff just to make every single game happen. Tuesdays, Wednesdays. They're trying to get us to believe that they wouldn't do the exact same thing this year instead of actually having the stones to cancel games and light money on fire. To their credit, they have pulled off a convincing con job of everybody today and yesterday. Because now all of a sudden you're seeing all sorts of players who are maybe on the bottom rung of the totem pole that are saying, you know what, shoot, I don't know. I don't know that it's really likely that a game's actually going to be canceled or that there would be a forfeit, but I don't want to risk that, so I'm going to get vaccinated. And this sort of goes to show you that at the bottom levels of the NFL, the players who are scrapping by and just trying to survive in the league week to week, they are not going to take any chances, at least most of these guys, even if they have some reservations. Take Seahawks cornerback DJ Reed, who is an established player now but wasn't all too long ago. I didn't want to get the vaccine, he tweeted out yesterday. We don't know the long-term effects. If you have the vaccine, you can still catch COVID. The NFL and NFL Players Association made getting the vaccine a competitive advantage, though. I just got my vaccine because I don't want to hinder my team. I don't know how I feel about it. And we saw DeAndre Hopkins say, well, never thought I would say this, but being put in a position to hurt my team because I don't want to partake in the vaccine is making me question my future in the NFL. And you're seeing the Buffalo Bills locker room and tearing itself apart. Cole Beasley and guard John Feliciano have their takes. Jerry Hughes, defensive lineman, and Stephon Diggs, wide receiver, are pushing back. Those conversations, I think, are going to create a peer pressure situation where the NFL ultimately wins. They are going to get a lot of players to, I think, decide to get the vaccine even if they have reservations about it. But I think it's funny, if these players really think long and hard about it, the NFL, they are not one to burn money. There were 0 games canceled last year. And you had a game where some poor wide receiver had the really mean task of playing wide receiver. Or excuse me, of playing quarterback in Denver, right? I mean, we saw that last season. That poor guy, like he's in the NFL Hall of Fame now. Or at least I think his glove or the football that he used or something like that. So there's a lot of collective freaking out going on about this. And I got to give the NFL credit because this saber rattling, even though I don't think it really means a whole lot, I think it's a whole lot of hot air. It's posturing. It's all about the optics. It's doing a good job of getting players to fall in line. But they're not going to cancel the game. There's not going to be any forfeits. You think they're going to want to give people their money back if a game gets canceled? Hell no. They're going to make that game happen.